white part of the eagle's head. I wish it could be my pal. It is my pal. Yeah, but I wish I have an eagle.
I knew that doing a documentary film that would revolve around a mentally and physically handicapped person would be challenging. Raymond sometimes would find it difficult to articulate his thoughts and sometimes had a hard time finding the right words.
I am also getting colored.
Yeah.
I'm in the...
I know. Test 1, 2. Test. Okay, so yeah, and then we'll just kind of look at that cross if we talk, or you can look at me too. So, you know, whatever feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, my name is Frank Panico.
And my name is Raymond Matthew Patty.
And I met Raymond at St. Joseph's Catholic Church. I was going to church for a long time there, and about a year ago, I saw him come in, and he would show up once a week, and he would walk with his walker or his cane, and one day I asked him if he needed a ride home, and I found out that he just lived 4 blocks away, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so since he lives so close to the church, and I go to that church almost every day, and I started picking him up every morning, and we go to Mass together.
And I enjoy it much, and saying the rosary too.
Me too.
As we are brothers in Christ.
Amen to that. Raymond was just innocent and childlike. You could just say test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2. Get my shoe tied.
Test 1, 2, buckle my shoe.
3, 4, shut the door.
Right.
5, 6.
Pick up 6.
Thanks.
I found his resilience intriguing. I knew that his strength came from God, and he knew that his strength came from God, and that's one of the things that really drew me to Raymond. Although he was in pain all the time, he would still walk to church.
My God is everything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I am here, for a purpose. I might not be knowing everything, but it is fun to do joke like Frank is a joker.
So this is us going to see the spot where accident happened?
Yes, sir.
With the accident that happened over 40 years ago, huh?
Or more like 45.
Yeah. It doesn't bother you to come here and look at
No. I know this happened, and praise the Lord, I accept it. And I have been honored to able to accept the pain I have been having, and God knows everything, and when I don't know when, but God knows it will heal me.
Obviously, God does allow pain and suffering in the world because, it exists, and he could stop it if he wants. He's God. And one time Raymond asked me, he's like, Frank, why am I like this? Why am I handicapped? Why did God allow this to happen to me? Can't I just be like everyone else? This seems unfair to me. Why did God allow this to happen? And I didn't know what to tell him, but I think what I told him was perhaps he's being used as a tool. Like God is watching from above as people cross his path, and he's watching to see, are these people that cross his path going to be sympathetic and kind and nice, or are they going to shun him? So it's almost like he is being used as a tool to test the heart of others. Perhaps. No one really knows the mind of God, but perhaps that's the reason.
I first met Raymond, and not really met him. It was maybe the early 80s. I used to see him going to church, wheeling his mother in a wheelchair. And I noticed he had a disability. He had, would walk. It was hard for him. And then it's just the last few years, I would see him like struggling, especially in the summer. So a couple of times I'd say, Raymond, and I knew who he was, and I knew his mother passed away. I said, let me give you a ride home. And that's when we would have our talks. But what I loved about Raymond was his resilience. He said, this is my salvation. He just loves the Lord so much, If anybody's reward's going to be great in heaven is him. I mean, I have nothing to complain about compared to his life, He's just an amazing person,
I've talked to people and they said they used to see you pushing your mom and
Yes, I did.
back and forth all the time.
Like 8 miles a day.
So, but you were already handicapped and you were doing it anyway.
Yes,
So then you and your mom were kind of handicapped.
my mother is polioed from 7 years old
Right.
when she got polio.
Right. Got it. Raymond's mother, Gloria Batty, died in 1993. She was a strong Christian woman. She raised 3 children while in a wheelchair and took care of her husband. And she instilled strong Christian values on her children, especially on Raymond. And you could just tell he was brought up correctly. She died while Raymond was right there with her in their home. When Raymond was about 34, she was in her 60s. She had heart problems and she just died. She fell forward and hit her head on the sink, and Raymond had told me he tried to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
She passed away on the sink. She had her head like that, and I tried to give her back breath, breathe in and out in her mouth, but it didn't work. God wanted her right then, and I took it like that.
So your mom died first and then your dad after that? Is that how it happened?
Yes.
And now was your dad in charge of taking care of you now because your mom wasn't around? No?
Not really.
Yeah.
I had to look after myself.
I'm always joking with him. That's the Irish in me. I try to keep things laughing.
Right.
He'll always come back with something like "I cracky" or something, or
Right. He says, like, you bet your bottom boopy.
Yeah,
Just weird things.
that's it.
You better believe your bottom bippies.
I was teaching at Jensen Beach Elementary, and I had Raymond in the 6th grade. And the main thing I remember about Raymond is he was one of the sweetest kids, and he was such a good artist. He loved to draw, and anything you ask of him, he would do it. And he was just very pleasant and easy to work with, just one of those children that you always remembered. It just makes you proud to be a teacher and to have a student like that you remember. I love him.
I think that keeping an individual away from other Christians or away from other people and away from church is like a tactic of the evil one. Because if these people are allowed to be in a community with other Christians, these Christians perhaps might pray for this person. And it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. If Raymond was just locked away in his home, depressed, people might not even remember him or think about him. Hence, they wouldn't be praying for him. And I feel like the evil one knows this, and he wants to keep us separated from especially Christian people. And I feel like that was happening to Raymond. A big part of Christianity is to serve others, right? Mm-hmm. And then because you're handicapped, you get frustrated because you can't serve people like you want to. Do you think that's part of it?
Yes.
It is?
That is a bigger than I can say. That is the problem of my life.
Because he is a Christian and loves God, he realizes that in Christianity, one of the absolute cornerstones or the foundation of Christianity is to serve others. Because of his handicap, he can't serve others very much. He had told me it really bothers him that he can't do more and he can't serve people because his handicap holds him back, you know. But he'll do little things for people as much as he can and open a door for someone. Like for me, he drew a few pieces of artwork for me and gave them to me, and he's just a really, really nice person. Another issue he has, which is probably one of the most paramount issues he's battling with, is because he can't speak very well.
I might not be able to speak that much, but I am trying to. I hope the people will understand every word I said.
They understand, and if they don't, I'll tell them. It makes him embarrassed to join in a conversation. It makes him difficult to spread the word of God and give glory to God, and he really wants to.
I accident the hospital cut my vocal cords and I couldn't speak a word, but now God gave my speech back to me and I am happy I am able to accept whatever the Lord wants me to do.
Something kept telling me that Raymond is part of some divine appointment from God, perhaps to be a messenger or carry a word. I just feel like there's some divine message Raymond's supposed to deliver, and the evil one knows this and he's trying to shut him down. When I told Raymond this, he agreed with me wholeheartedly, and he said to me, "They're trying to stop me from giving God glory." That was his exact words. So, but you said you saw evil spirits while you were in the hospital?
Yes.
Give me an idea.
seeing things happen that I don't like to see. I know the evil one. It looks like fire.
Like fire? So then, I guess you could never really show me an evil spirit. You could just tell me you've seen them, huh?
Yes, sir.
I believe in them too. I thank God I never saw any though.
I have.
One day while Raymond and I were filming, he had a mic that was hidden right up here against his chest, and this really strange noise came through in the audio, and to this day I don't know quite what it was. The noise is heard right after he says the bad spirits are all around us.
The bad spirits are around us all.
I've run into a lot of problems with my camera, my visuals, like staying in focus. The main problem I had was with audio. It was a constant battle with audio.
There and then on his way back. Jeez Louise, you got that on tape too.
One night I was going over the footage of the film and it sounded like this. I would be filming inside Raymond's house, for example, and out of nowhere, someone would show up and start doing construction work and making all kinds of noise, or someone would be running a leaf blower. But how can you explain to me that there's evil spirits?
Even you can see it, can you?
No, I haven't seen any. One morning I went to pick up Raymond, like I always do, and something very odd happened. I got to his house, he wasn't there. I opened the door, went inside, checked the room, and I was getting a little worried, so I drove off to the church really fast, and I noticed his three-wheel bicycle outside, so it was a relief. I said, oh great, he's here. So I went inside the church, and I noticed he was crying and very upset. And I'm like, Raymond, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? And he's like, why are you mad at me? You know, why did you tell me I'm done with you? And why did you tell me you don't want to be my friend anymore? I'm like, what? I never said that. You know, what are you talking about? And then he told me that someone had called, or he said, you called me last night and said you didn't want to be my friend anymore. Why did you do that? I'm like, I would never do that.
I had a call last night and it startled me because someone.
Whose name was on the little caller ID? Whose name popped up on the light when you read it? My name? Frank?
Yeah, Frank.
What did the person on the phone say to you?
I don't need your friendship, and that bothered me, and it is Frank. He is on the telephone I have.
Right, so it said my name. It was like it was I calling you from my phone.
Like that.
Yeah, and I never...
And I don't know what happened.
So what we're going to do now is try and find a caller ID and call the number back if your phone has a redial. And we're going to see if...
I do.
And we're going to see if my phone rings or someone else's phone rings.
I'm sorry that.
Oh, that's okay.
But that really frightened me.
It really bothers you, huh?
Yes, it did.
I know, it bothered me too.
Bothered me all night.
You thought I wasn't your friend anymore.
It felt like your sounded identical in your voice.
That was a terrible trick that somebody played on you.
That is really, I never want to have that happen again. I cannot help it what I felt, and I thought it's really your voice.
Are you absolutely sure that there was a phone call?
Yes,
Yeah, and you're sure it said my name on there, huh?
yes, sir.
And it was my exact voice too, huh?
Yes.
There's a slight possibility that maybe it was just in Raymond's mind, but I think it definitely happened. I know the phone call happened because I checked the records and it said unavailable caller, and it was at night when he said that it had occurred, and I saw my phone number where I had called him earlier in the morning. I tried to call the number back. I tried caller ID. I tried to call the number on Raymond's phone as well as my phone. I even called the phone companies and asked them to attempt to place the call for me. For some reason, we just could not place the call. There was no way to reach the person. They kept telling me they can't help me. There's no way to get a hold of this number. The call definitely happened, and he definitely experienced some odd event. There were also certain individuals that were trying to keep Raymond and I from becoming friends. I know this for a fact. I know of at least one person that definitely didn't want us to become friends. This guy actually told Raymond that he didn't want him hanging out with me at all. Another time I dropped in to see Raymond, and he was absolutely ill. And all he kept on saying was, my power's been drained, my power's been drained. And I didn't really understand what had happened. He was feeling very badly, and I took him to the emergency room, and it turns out it was a good thing because his blood pressure was like 209 over 1 something. He was basically like a heart attack waiting to happen. And then they also found out that he had other issues. There was swelling around his colon, and it could have blew a hole in his colon at any moment. And they had told me that it was a good thing that I brought him to the hospital. It's just another instance that made me believe that the evil one and his spirits were trying to stop this film from happening. All these instances separate by themselves don't really seem like much, but when you clump them all together, it just seems like there was definitely something fishy going on as far as the spiritual world. But we got to a point where it was just smooth sailing, and now nothing's stopping us from having a good friendship. And I know that that was God. What does it mean when you said, like, I met myself for the first time? You told me that.
Yes, I did. What I meant is I saw even my body in parts of my body is in like red and bleeding.
Or while you were laying there in the street?
And yes.
As we walked across the bridge to the spot where the accident had occurred, Raymond all of a sudden started walking really fast and then came to this sudden jolt and just stopped.
When I am 11 years old, I am Christmas shopping, and then I came back home Roosevelt Bridge. I riding my bicycle, and then a man fishing, she flipped his pole was on the wire or string flipped me off of my bicycle into a hearse or a burial car.
Let me just recap. So you were riding your bike over a bridge and a man cast his fishing pole and it got caught in your bike, and then you fell into a moving car, and it was a Hertz car that carries coffins?
Yes, it should be me. I should be in the car. But it isn't. It is impossible. God wants me here for a purpose.
Raymond's life had been marred with tragic events, more than anybody I have ever met in my life.
I will tell you, I have been through some H-E-L-L in my life, if I could say it that way.
Raymond's accident had major negative repercussions in his life.
I heard a siren and it is fighting me. It is off. Sorry.
Raymond kept saying he knew the guy who drove the burial car, and he kept saying he was the boss of the funerals, the boss of the funerals. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just didn't understand.
But I know the burial or boss of
The funerals?
yes.
Was he the one that was fishing?
No.
He was the one that was driving. Driving the funeral car?
Yep. I really died 3 times.
So actually you died once on the Roosevelt Bridge, then once in the ambulance, and then once at the hospital?
Yes.
Wow, how do you know that you actually died? Did somebody tell you about those events?
Yes, my mother. And I already known that. But if you had to believe me, I did die 3 times.
You had said that you had died and you had seen heaven, right?
Yes, I had.
So you could describe what you saw in heaven.
Well, the gate of heaven is all golden light. When I am in heaven, I saw angels, many colors, and also beautiful part of being there. I saw other people too, but I cannot remember everyone. But like angel, archangel Michael, and then saw Jesus and Mary and God as it is beautiful, like a cloud.
Yeah? So you actually saw God? Did God have a conversation, or Jesus have a conversation with you?
Yep.
What did he say? Who was it, Jesus or God?
Both as one.
And what is God as one? What did he say to you?
Hang in there, Ray. This is only a test trying to do a beautiful part of life.
So he said, hang in, Ray, this is only a test? So God didn't say something like, it's not your time yet, I'm sending...
Yes, that is also, it is like after I talked to him, he said that it is not time for you to go, but I had been waiting for this.
Did God tell you, like you have some type of a mission he wants you to complete?
Yes,
Then did he say what that mission was?
not yet, but I felt it like he is talking to me like, hold on, wait, this is going this way, my way, and this is, I cannot tell you what he said because I cannot remember every word. I wish I could, but I can't. My brother Michael died 4 months after my accident. My brother had epilepsy. He had it on the bridge.
On the same bridge, a different bridge?
Another bridge.
The Palm City Bridge? Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
Had a seizure and fell into the water and he drowned and died. I hardly known that I had the Lord told me before my family. When I am 11 years old, I in the hospital. I had a vision of what happened to my brother Michael Arthur Batty, and it came true, and it happened like this. My brother had a seizure and fell into the water and drowned, and then I saw my brother making Jesus in the sky, in the hospital, in the window. I saw my dad parking in the hospital property and carried my mother on his back. My brother Ronald is there, but my brother Michael is not there.
Did your mother tell you about your brother's death? Like say, son?
No. I had the dream and it came true.
You mean she didn't even try and tell you?
No.
Like Did she already kind of know that you knew?
I know that is the truth.
So you saw your brother meeting Jesus in a way? Mm-hmm. Wow. So can you explain again, what was his name?
Michael Arthur Batty.
And can you explain how you saw him meeting up with Jesus?
He rose up and I saw his spirit rose up like a air, like getting up in the cloud, like walking to catch the Lord by hand.
I personally believe all these devastating events that took place in Raymond's life, but I knew that I needed some proof of his accident and of his brother Michael's accident. So we decided to check out the hospital to see if we can find some medical records about his accident, but we didn't have any luck. They told me that they didn't keep any medical records from decades ago. So I thought we would check out the courthouse to see if they had any recollection of the event, and maybe there was some lawsuits filed, but we had no luck there. So this is Raymond and I. We're going to the police station to see if we can find a police report about the accident, huh?
Yep,
Do you think they'll let me film inside there?
I cannot say. I am not working in the office.
Do you think maybe I should just go in with it anyway? Or should I ask them first?
Police. Police.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just playing with you. I would ask them first. I just
You goofball.
I just wanted to get a charge out of you. The police told us that they didn't keep any accident reports past 8 years, so we decided to go to the sheriff's station and ask them if they had an accident report or something, and they told us the same thing, but they gave us a phone number that we can call to find a death certificate. A death certificate, and you know, if it involves any kind of explaining about the death or something like that, we would like to order that. Finally, we got some solid proof when we received Michael's death certificate. It said that he did die in 1971, about 4 months after Raymond's accident, just like he had told me. It said that he did drown and he did have epilepsy. I thought Raymond and I should try and find some newspaper articles about the accidents. So we went to the library and did some research, and we started going through articles on some old machine that reads microfilm. The first article I printed out came perfectly fine. But then after that, I kept hitting print and the articles would come out all messed up, like copy after copy. One was too bright, one was too dark. It was just all out of whack, and I hadn't changed the setting on the machine. So, you know, after like 20 dimes in an hour of printing, I finally got something I can use. I just chalked it up to another strange event. I finally found out what Raymond meant when he kept saying the boss of the funerals was the one driving the car, the boss of the funerals. In a newspaper article, it had said that the driver of the car that had hit Raymond was a guy named John Wallace. So I did a search and I found his obituary, and it turned out that he passed away in 2013 at the age of 85. And it also turns out that he owned a funeral parlor named Wallace and White Funeral Home. And Raymond once again was right, you know. It was the boss of a funeral parlor that had driven the car and hit him. I found story after story of the teachers in the neighborhood and students in the community that pulled together to help raise money for Raymond's medical bills. The articles in the newspaper stated everything that Raymond had said. His story totally checked out. That he had been riding his bike across the Roosevelt Bridge on December 23rd after Christmas shopping. He was heading north, the car was heading south. Through listening to everything that Raymond told me, I found him to be very credible and believable, as opposed to me interviewing some genius with an IQ of 160 that could easily weave a web of lies to make me believe something. It just seemed very credible coming from Raymond, and I believe everything he's telling me.
I am not a weirdo. I remember everything. Sometimes I wish I don't, but I do. Well,
That's awesome. You have a good memory.
I do about me.
But in all the articles, not one of them mentioned a fisherman on the bridge. And Raymond insisted that there was that fisherman on the bridge that hooked his bike by mistake and caused him to fall into the car. And I absolutely believe Raymond's story, but there was nowhere any account of any fisherman anywhere. I don't know why there's no mention of this guy. Maybe he left the scene. Maybe they didn't want some lawsuit against the city and just decided not to write about it, or maybe if they found out that this fisherman had caused the accident, they would have to stop letting people fish from the bridge, and maybe that would hurt tourism. I have no idea, but everywhere I looked there was absolutely no mention of this fisherman that did exist.
I just learned that Raymond feels that the accident was truly caused by a fisherman, and I would definitely put my money on Raymond's memory of that.
So you say your mom told you that that happened to you, that there was a hook in your bike tire and the fisherman, but
And I already known that.
how else did you know that?
Myself, I know
Right,
how it happened.
right.
And if the people doesn't believe me, but I am telling the truth, what happened, the hook got into my bicycle and flipped me off of my bike.
Although Raymond was in a coma for 4 months when his brother's accident happened, everything that he told me about his brother Michael's death checked out too. I assume through the vision he had and through information he gathered from other people, he had enough information to tell me the story about his brother's death.
My brother Ronald is playing pool with my brother Michael, and then my brother Michael got angry at my brother Ronald like that. I cannot be sure, but I saw it all. And then my brother Michael left to the bridge.
The newspaper said that Michael fell from some narrow 2-foot wooden walkway. It's called fenders. It's this thing that guides boats under the bridge. And the article said that Michael had crawled out onto this wooden walkway to avoid the crowd of other people fishing. But Raymond insists that his brother fell from the bridge itself.
I believe I saw it right here. From the top to the water and drowned it here.
There were more conflicting accounts too. One newspaper stated that Michael and his older brother were on the bridge fishing together. But another newspaper story said that his older brother wasn't present at all. Also, in all the newspaper articles I had seen, there was only one witness that witnessed Michael's death. Some guy named Robert DeLissel, and he said that he slipped off the wooden walkway and fell into the water and drowned, and he dove in to try and save him, but the water was too murky. I guess if the older brother was there, he would have also jumped in the water to try and save his brother, but there's no mention of that, so it leads me to believe that the older brother wasn't present when Michael had died. And the witness didn't say, oh, it seemed like Michael was having a seizure or twitching around when he fell. It just says he slipped. Well, as you can see, it's difficult to get to that walkway from the cement walkway where you fish. There's like a 6 or 7 foot gap. I mean, unless you have a plank you're carrying that you can use to walk across, or if a boat picked you up and drove you onto this little walkway, it just seemed impossible for a 14-year-old kid with a fishing pole to jump this 6 or 7 foot gap and land on this 2 foot wide wooden walkway. Martin County Sheriff was quoted as saying that Michael had borrowed a fishing pole from a fisherman he had met that day. They didn't have a fishing pole. Maybe they never really set out to go fishing. They just set out to go to that recreation center. There is a ballpark and a recreation center right at the bottom of that bridge. I did a little research and I found out that it was still in existence back in the 60s and 70s. So maybe Raymond's version of the story is the one that's true. He seems to know things that other people don't know, and like he knew about his brother's death before anyone told him, and I don't know what had happened. Nobody will really know exactly what had happened on that day. Ready to go see the gravesite of your mom and your brother?
And my grandma.
Oh, she's here too?
I got everyone but my dad. I didn't have the money to get her one of them.
So you mean for your mom's gravesite you didn't have the money to get a stone?
My mother is about right here.
When we were at the cemetery, there was just one look on his face that kind of summed it up. All his pain and suffering was kind of all culminated into this one look on his face. Well, that's okay. God loves her, and you don't need a piece of stone to prove how much she's great, you know?
I will see you later, Mike. I love you, brother.
In my life, I mean, even now I still do, but not so much. I'm always in a hurry, I'm in a hurry to receive communion and get out of church before the parking lot gets too busy. And, I'm pulling up to get coffee and I realize someone else just pulled up and I better hurry up and get in line before that person gets in line before me. I've just hurry. And through spending time with Raymond, I've realized I need to just chill a little bit, Life is what's going on while you're busy making plans. There was one time where I was saying the rosary with Raymond, and he couldn't keep up with the people inside, so we would go outside, and after like 20 minutes outside in the Florida sun, he wanted to go and kneel on the concrete in front of the statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. I remember thinking in my head, oh God, I don't want to do this. But then I saw him go up there and kneel on the hard concrete, and I'm like, well, if this guy can do this, well, I can do this too. Hopefully this film will convey that message. If this guy who's been through all this in his life can handle life and have an excellent attitude, so can I. One reason I feel that Raymond is always in a good mood and has a very good outlook on life is because he had seen heaven and he had seen God. So it like solidified the fact that it does exist. And I think knowing that God does exist and heaven does exist just propels him through life.
You better believe it.
You're funny. As of right now, I know that Raymond is not 100% healed, but he is an immensely better person and doing so much better than when I first met him. He speaks better, he walks better. I was praying to God, and you pray to him too, and I said, God, if it is in your will, can you please heal Raymond? Right?
It is.
And you seem to be getting a little better?
Yes.
I've just seen this major change, and God has healed him. I remember one day when Raymond told me, I'll never forget it. It was only after like 2 days of us becoming friends and hanging out, maybe 2 or 3 days. I remember him saying, Frank, you're my friend for life. You're a part of my life now, and you're my friend for life.
This is a friend that I have forever for God's glory, and Frank is a part of my life now.
I remember kind of just like stood back and like, whoa, slow down. I didn't sign up for this. I was like cautious and skeptical. I look back on that moment and I'm somewhat embarrassed and ashamed of thinking that way. Through spending time with Raymond, I realized that I needed to listen more in my life. He had this truly unique story, and I didn't know anything about it when I first started filming. I said, okay, here's this handicapped person. He seems like a really great person with a strong love for God, and he's in pain, and he still walks to church, and that's why I did the film. But then I found out about all these other things, and if I didn't listen carefully, I would have missed half of the story. He was so excited when I told him that I would be doing a film about him, and it just breathed hope into him, and it breathed hope into me. I feel like life is all about creating little pieces of hope, something to keep you going and something to keep you looking forward to. I just realized that I was changed for the better through becoming friends with Raymond. Often in life you go into a relationship and you feel like you're helping the other person, but circumstances just change and it turns out that that other person is actually helping you.
Let God have it all, and God is every part of my life.